Pokemon is officially on the Switch, but is it super disappointing or super awesome? What's up, everybody? It's Zach from Switchverse. Jake and Gabe are here. Obviously, the Direct is done. There was a lot of big news, but is it the news we wanted? Today, we've compiled a list of 5 reasons why Pokemon Switch is super disappointing and sucks, and 5 reasons why this Pokemon Switch is actually pretty awesome. We'll roll through them for you. I know there's a lot of heated emotions right now. Some people were really pumped for this. Some people didn't have any expectations, and either way, we have Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for 3DS, and Pokken Tournament DX for Switch, as well as a Gold and Silver 3DS Virtual Console release. But we're focusing on those new games, and starting things off, we'll alternate between why it sucks and why it's super good. First off, Pokken Tournament DX is disappointing because the rumors and the hype was all about stars, and so this misled us into thinking we were getting a mainline on Switch.
Well, there was also a couple of rumors about Pokken, right? We mentioned them. There was like listings and things like that. So we had some indication that it could have been this. I just think that we all just chose to ignore it because we wanted Sun to be the case so bad.
Right. Yeah. And this is a case of where, you know, hype and rumors, while they have been pretty credible in relation to Switch, they still are a dangerous beast. You get really excited for something. You get really attached to something that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company never even made mention of. So it is hard to take, but at the same time, you can't really blame them because they weren't the ones putting that out there. And that leads me to the first reason why this is actually awesome, and it's because we are getting a Pokemon Switch game early, right? This is the first year of the console. It's coming super soon. September the 22nd, you're going to be playing a Pokemon title, and it puts a Pokemon game on retail store shelves right away, early in the life cycle of Switch.
And I think that it's a pretty good title for Switch because of the hybrid nature of it and the ability to play with split Joy-Con, with your buddy right there. So to have like a one-on-one fighter that's Pokemon based that like all ages pretty much can play, I think is a good idea.
See, that's interesting you touch on that because that's something I didn't even consider. Just the multiplayer nature of the console in general and the fact that they want you to play with someone like sitting right next to you. We should have kind of expected Pokken to be coming because it just lends itself so perfectly to just the overall concept of the Switch in general.
Absolutely. So another reason why people super disappointed, it's not a mainline series and it's not a new game. So it's not like, oh, we didn't get Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on Switch, but hey, we've got something brand new. It's a port and it's a deluxe version, but it's not mainline, and that's what people are really excited for. Plenty of people have said, like, hey, I bought a Switch thinking this would eventually unify handheld and home console, and thereby mainline Pokemon would be something that would happen.
Yeah, and I guess, like, on this, like, the thing that concerns me a little bit more here is, the amount of content that is new. Is it enough? Is, like, 5 new, like, characters enough for a full retail? Because it's going to be $60, so... Mm-hmm. If you already had this on Wii U, I don't know if this motivates you. So we'll have to see.
Right. On the other side of the coin, though, it's awesome because it probably means a better mainline Switch title later. We have seen the listings for eventually working on more of a 3D title, and that could be incredibly awesome. Would you delay your gratification and sacrifice an early mainline Pokemon series game that would probably be $60 for something that looks a little better or maybe has a few features, or would you rather wait a couple years and get like the true evolution of Pokemon on Switch? I think that's something to keep in mind, that by keeping Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon on 3DS, we probably get a better mainline entry later in the Switch lifecycle.
If I get something similar to my open world Pokemon game I've been talking about since the beginning of Switch Force, then I will be happy to delay it as many years as needed.
Yeah, Jake just wants to run around as an actual Pokemon, not a human, so that he can finally achieve his dreams of role-playing as a Detective Pikachu or something like that.
I mean, you can do that right now for free, Jake. They're on the costume, running around outside.
You guys just put words in my mouth. I don't like it.
Number 3 for why this sucks, it's another Wii U port, and this is something people were worried about, that E3 is right around the corner. Instead of getting new titles, we're just going to get more of these DX versions. And Pokken Tournament, it was a fun game on Wii U, but it wasn't something that, like, flipped the world upside down. And now we have Mario Kart DX. We now have Pokken Tournament DX. Is the Switch falling prey to a whole bunch of ports?
I think definitely in the first year it's going to, and I think that they're not direct ports. At least they're upgrading them a little bit, making them deluxe, adding new characters. I think is a huge thing. Like if they would just said, "Here's Pokken Tournament on the Switch," like I'd have been like, "Are you kidding me?" But the fact that they added new Pokemon and one new Pokemon from the Sun and Moon games is cool, and makes me think that there could be a possibility for DLC characters, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah. It seems like these deluxe versions are kind of their ultimate versions, and even though I'd be really hopeful for Mario Kart 8 DLC, I doubt we get it. But on the other hand, that leads me into our third positive, which is that it is a deluxe version, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was awesome. And like you mentioned, Jake, they're introducing new Pokemon. This is the ultimate version of the game. It's a bigger, better title. It's going to allow you to have that awesome action on Switch multiplayer-wise, and like you said, for those fans of Sun and Moon, you are bringing in Decidueye, so you get a character that is from the latest iteration of the mainline series. And hey, Nintendo did a great job with Mario Kart. Maybe they'll do just as good of a job with Pokken.
Yeah, I mean, because it was like a little like discouraging or maybe even disparaging to, when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was announced, right? Because it's a port. It's a port of a game that came out not that long ago, so, a little disappointing. But then we ended up really, really loving it, and it's so good, and they have like so much extra content with the battle mode and things like that. So now I'm curious, like, do they add something like to the equivalent of battle mode for Pokken? What would that be? I don't know, and it's going to be more difficult since it is a fighting game. So inherently, it's just harder to add modes to that. That's not a thing that happens like so easily, but. Other than the 5 new characters, like you said, they're going to bring in like the stuff that was in the arcades and stuff. So I think it'll be all right.
And yes, just to be clear, 4 of these 5 new characters were already released in the arcade version of Pokken Tournament, but console players have not had a chance to play as Empoleon or Krogunk or Darkrai or Scizor, so that'll be exciting. And then Decidueye is completely brand new to any version of Pokken, so it is kind of taking things that were already there, maybe not as much of a DX as Mario Kart, but it will be the best version of Pokken, and I think that's something to still be excited about. Back onto the more disappointing side of things, the fourth reason is that it does kind of prevent some Switch conversion. I think people were hoping that this would be one of those defining moments where they said, hey, the Switch is the console we want to focus on, and instead 3DS is still getting love. It's hard to fault them because of the install base differential. It's absolutely massive, and how can you really, in some ways betray that audience that has invested in Pokemon for years and years on their handhelds? But I do think some people will probably be disappointed, and it is a little bit of a negative that it does prevent some Switch conversion. If this was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on Switch exclusively, that would have skyrocketed sales even further.
Well, they can't even keep up with the demand that there is now, so I don't think they want to.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe this is a good one. I mean, no, it's definitely not a good thing, but yeah, you're right. I think we were all hoping that, I mean, we still are, that at some point they have to move away from 3DS, right? They have to.
It's just not yet.
Yeah, it's not happening yet because, new 2DS just got announced, and there is obviously still life in that system, so... would it be great for them to move everything over? Yeah, but I think that's at least a year or two down the line.
And maybe maybe that's what they're doing with like just making an ultra version of Sun and Moon now, and then focusing all their efforts on a new Switch game like we mentioned before, so that then they can kind of convert over in one big foul swoop.
Yeah, I think that's
absolutely could be. Yeah, and if you look like this business wise had to be done. They have a new 2DS XL. You pair it with a new Pokemon game. They're already really successful with Switch in 2017, and now a new Pokemon title, a new handheld console. Like, it's going to be a lot of dollar signs for Nintendo this fall. We're not even mentioning the rest of the Switch lineup in terms of, Mario Odyssey and obviously still people buying Breath of the Wild. But now you add Pokemon to it. That's always something that skyrockets their sales and will do definitely the same in 2017. On the positive side, though, to spin this into something that we can get excited about, it's double the Pokemon. So instead of just getting stars for Switch, you are getting Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and you are getting Pokken Tournament DX. So in a way, you have 2 times as much Pokemon awesomeness come fall 2017.
3 times gold and silver for the
Okay,
3DS.
don't forget that.
Virtual console.
Is there such thing as too much Pokemon?
I don't think there can ever be too much Pokemon. I think it's one of those kind of like just very pure franchises that is going to be embraced in any amount. And like, look, it could have been mobile games. We could be getting Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and a new mobile game. And there is the new Pokemon Land, Pokeland coming. But we do get double the Nintendo console and Nintendo handheld Pokemon, which is definitely like a good thing for big fans of the franchise.
Yeah. So the people that are really, really into it are going to be happy, and everybody else, they'll pick and choose what they're going to play, as usual.
For sure. The fifth and final sucky aspect of this is it probably means no Smash Brothers. We kind of were getting excited about a Smash Bros. DX for Switch, maybe even coming out this fall, and this pretty much, in my mind, shuts the coffin on that idea, because I don't think there's any way you're going to have ARMS being a fighter and then have Pokken Tournament DX being a fighter and then try and have Smash Brothers compete with that. So I think it sort of stifles the rumors or the hype of some sort of new Smash on Switch.
I don't think so. I think Smash could still be coming.
Really?
Probably not this year. Maybe at the top of next year, March or something like that. I could see it happening. But I don't think this completely closes the door on it at all.
For 2017.
Yeah, for 2017, sure, probably. But, I mean, we could easily still see an announcement at E3 and have them, like, talk about it and how whatever they're going to add. So,
or Virtual Console, dropping Melee or something, as we discussed previously. Virtual Console-wise, that doesn't really cannibalize this in any way.
My question then becomes, how long do they push back Smash, if they are pushing it back? Like, how far do they push it back? And then is it going to be still a deluxe version of the porting it, or would it be a totally new one? Like, how far can you go into the future and you still port it?
That's an interesting discussion. Yeah, like how many years of leeway do you have before DX versions become...
Like, I don't want like a 2019 port of Smash Bros. Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this means that Mario Maker DX is more likely than Smash Bros. DX, and maybe they will, you look at the well, history tells us that they like to have one of these more tentpole franchises. Things like Mario Kart and things like Smash normally only get one entry, and the Switch could be a game changer in the sense that we got Mario Kart 8 DX so early, but maybe Smash will hold true to the one per generation philosophy. Do you guys see ARMS being impacted in any way? Do you find that or believe that any players might wait on June 16th's ARMS in favor of September 22nd's Pokken Tournament DX?
No, I think that like the hype around ARMS has like grown a little bit with the global test punch. They have been successful. People have, for the most part, really enjoyed it. They're gravitating towards whatever characters. I think there's like a charm to ARMS that isn't there for Pokken. Yes, Pokken has like a fan base that has already been cultivated, with the years of people loving like these, little characters. But ARMS, I think, is completely different, and it's coming out really soon. And not that Pokken is like very far away, but I think people are clamoring to play like new things on the Switch, as we've mentioned before. So I think ARMS will be okay.
Yeah, and it does sort of stack a brand new IP with something that's a little more established, and I think maybe that dichotomy works out well. And like, Jake, I don't know if this is what you're going to touch on, but like, be very clear, ARMS is a very different fighter than Pokken Tournament.
Very.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, they're 3 months apart, which isn't, like, a huge amount of time, but I feel like it's kind of enough, like, that some people are like, I really don't want to wait 3 whole months to get, like, a good, like, multiplayer fighting game.
For sure. And then that brings us to the fifth and final awesome aspect of this announcement, and that's that it adds another Nintendo title to the 2017 Switch lineup. Something that we've hoped and really crossed our fingers that they would continue were these regular releases, and thus far they've done a really good job. Now we have another game on top of Mario Odyssey, on top of Xenoblade 2, on top of Fire Emblem Warriors, on top of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. We now know for sure that we're getting another pretty big and pretty darn solid Nintendo release in the form of Pokken Tournament DX on September 22nd.
The only downside I see to this, even though we're counting it as a positive, was like I'm still really hoping something new at E3 like that comes out this year, and I don't know if that's it. Like, is this like the new thing that I wanted? That I felt like they were gonna have at least one more release that we didn't know about for the year, and
could this be it?
Yeah, could this be it? So that's the only little downside to this one positive. But you're right. Bolstering the lineup in any way, I think, is a positive. I think it's important to have like as wide a variety available, and we touched on it, but it's very, very different for ARMS. And it's still, you can still do your couch co-op and everything. So, yeah, it just a double-sided sword for me on this one.
I think there still is some space, given that this is a port, a deluxe version, maybe they can, double up on a month or something of that sort. But I ultimately would rather guarantee that we get another release than risk not getting one. And so that's where I think Pokken Tournament DX still sits in a sweet spot as like, hey, this is another retail option for Switch owners this fall. And in general, I think that there are negatives, there are positives to this announcement, but for the most part, I feel up on it because it is a chance to dip our toes into two types of Pokemon this fall. We are getting Pokken Tournament DX on Switch. That's an early Pokemon entry in the console's life cycle. It probably means a better mainline entry down the line. It could be awesome to have, like you mentioned, Gabe, as like this couch multiplayer battler, and it does allow us to have another Switch game. So in general, like I still have to give this a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm more in that camp than the negative. I mean, yeah, you can find negatives in anything, but it's there for the people that like it. For those of you that aren't like super into it, it's okay. Wait for the next one.
I'm hopeful that this little quick 8-minute direct right before E3 clears up more space for E3 to talk about new games that are focused on the Switch. I know this was a Switch announcement, like kind of clear out Pokemon so that they can focus more of their time on other big name Nintendo Switch stuff. Which I'm hopeful for.
That's a really good point.
Absolutely, it does. Take that 8 minutes out of the spotlight, and now that means more time for maybe some of those surprise announcements. And we know that some of you are just so clamoring and so excited for a mainline and Switch, and we're sorry that it didn't pan out, but let us know your thoughts on Pokken Tournament DX, on Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and on our list of why maybe this actually is a good thing. And sure, there are some disappointing sides, so let us know your take, what you think, which one you feel the strongest about out of our list, and we will be reading through those. Make sure that like button if you are pumped for E3, more announcements, more awesomeness in the future. We'll be playing Pokken Tournament DX, we'll be playing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, so make sure to subscribe here at Switch Force to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from Nintendo, from Pokemon, from the Switch. And until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. For myself, Jake, and Gabe, Switch Force out.